Welcome to Rice TVX and the newest episode of the Rice Crypto Show. Give me a 5x5 if you can hear me. Today I am joined by the master of technical analysis, 20-plus year veteran trader, Mr. Gareth Soloway, joining me today on Fed Day. Make sure you guys smash that like button, share this video out, and make sure you are subscribed. And I want to give everybody a heads up that Gareth will be going live after our live stream at 1:50 p.m. Eastern Time on his YouTube channel. We will be talking about that today. And before we begin, a few quick a shout out to the sponsors of Rice TVX who make it possible for me to do this full time. You can always find information in every video description for Monarch Wallet as well as pre-search. Okay, now we are almost there. I got something I want to let people know. I did interview Crypto Face last week. We still have about 10 discounts available for you to get 50% off Market Cipher. To get 50% off, use promo code RiceBaby with this specific link, and I will be making sure that I put it in today's live chat. There are 10 spots left to get 50% off Market Cipher, so take advantage while you can. We're about to get this thing started. Pay attention to the channel promo, and then Gareth will be joining us. Before we get into it, make sure you visit ricetvx.com and sign up for my mailing list so you never miss an update or new Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain content. You will also find links to all of my various channels as well as my social media. Make sure you're following both of my YouTube channels, Rice TVX as well as Rice Against the Grain. And due to censorship, make sure you follow me on other alternative platforms such as Rumble and Odyssey, where I do post up exclusive content. If you want to support Rice TVX, be sure to check out and join my Patreon channel, where you will get early access to my videos with no ads, unedited. You will also get exclusive content and more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. Today is the FOMC Fed meeting. We're going to be talking about that today. I am joined by Gareth Soloway. This is his 8th appearance on the show. He is with In the Money Stocks and Verified Investing Crypto. Almost got tongue twisted on that. So welcome back to the show, Gareth. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me back again.
No problem, man. And the timing is always perfect. I always try to get you right around this time period. So today we have the FOMC meeting. The Federal Reserve is going to be talking about what they're going to be doing regarding interest rate hikes, whether they are going to do anything or not. We're going to get into that, but I'm going to let everybody know that there's going to be links down below so people can check out your Twitter if they're not already following you at Gareth Soloway. You will be live at 1:50 p.m. time. That is 45 minutes from now on your YouTube channel, so people can check that out, trade the Federal Reserve decision. And also I'll have links for verifiedinvestingcrypto.com as well as inthemoneystocks.com. And we talk about that on all the previous episodes and the previous playlists, so be sure to check them out. Without further ado, man, I don't even really want to waste any time. What are your thoughts about what's going to happen with the Federal Reserve?
Wow. So to me, it's the 25 basis point is a foregone conclusion, right? So the market, everyone is expecting it. I'd say there's a 99.9% chance that that happens. So that's kind of not part of the equation. The big equation is going to be what the policy statement says about going forward. Are there still more hikes after this one? If so, how much? When does the Fed see the economy weakening to where they don't have to hike? Would they even consider cutting at a certain point? And these are all questions that between the statement itself and then the press conference at 2:30, I think that's going to be where the market's going to make a move. And remember, whatever the market thinks about it, you're going to see a reaction in the US dollar. And then the markets, the equity markets, the stock market, the crypto market will move off of that. So it's going to be a wild last portion of the day. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, are you really, I mean, everybody's talking about 25 basis points, but do you think that there is a possibility that we could go 50?
I'd be super surprised. I mean, that would be flooring to me because the Fed in general, they don't like to surprise in that way. They like to kind of give the market what everyone's anticipating because anytime you surprise the market, you could have unforeseen reactions, right? The market could freak out. You could have a crash type scenario. So the Fed wants to keep it kind of what the market expects, but then they use their statement and their press conference to kind of guide the market to the next expectation. So I think it's going to be 25 basis points. I could be wrong, but that would be what I would say.
And that's pretty much baked in,
Yeah.
unless we're hearing some sort of negative, as far as continuing. If we're hearing something that sounds more hawkish versus dovish, then the markets could react negatively to that. But everything's pretty much baked in with the 25.
So
Too
the
much.
25 is baked in. It's just the matter of the guidance going forward. It's almost like a stock reporting earnings. Like the stock is expected to make $1 a share, but then what's the guidance for the next quarter? Are they going to make more money or less money? And then the market will move off of that. So even though it's baked in, I still expect a pretty significant move in the stock market, in the crypto markets, but it's going to be on that guidance.
Yeah, so I mean, it could go significant move downward if the guidance is not good, and the opposite if the guidance is good.
Yeah, it's all about how hawkish they are, meaning do they guide that they're going to be very, very stringent on keeping interest rates high for a long period of time, even if the economy slips into recession? Are they still going to do more hikes afterwards? Or maybe they'll come out more dovish where they're like, all right, you know what, we're done for now. We're going to wait to see. If we slip into a recession, we'll come to the rescue. The market would just love that. I think it's very unlikely that they say that, but the market would love that.
Right. Now, okay, so we have the meeting today, and then the next one is going to be March 21st and 22nd, with the announcement coming out the 22nd. So I know that you're not Nostradamus here, but I mean, if you're thinking that we're going to do 25 basis points today, and the language is at least medium, do you think that we will be looking for another 25 basis point rate hike in March, and maybe that would be the last of it that we see?
That's what I would expect. So I expect them to keep that hawkish tone where they're kind of telling the market we likely would see another 25 basis points. And then what that does is it makes the market kind of be a little careful, which remember, I don't think the Fed wants the markets to be rallying like we've seen lately. The stock market's had a big rally since January started. The crypto markets we know have ripped. The Fed doesn't really want that because the higher asset prices go, you have this wealth effect that makes people feel richer. And then the richer, we tend to say, oh, well, I'll go buy that car or I'll go do this. And what that does is it potentially could increase inflation. So I think the Fed wants to keep their foot on the throat of the markets and just make sure that we don't continue to rally back to all-time highs.
And that makes sense. And that's kind of why I was bringing up the 50 basis points, because it seems like we're still the markets are not attached to reality.
Yes.
And and I would think that the Federal Reserve is going to want to reel the markets back into reality. And if everything is baked in at 25, we're probably going to continue upward, even with some minor hawkish, because they're not going higher than 25. And people feel like they're limited as to what they can do. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, I'm definitely going to have to get you back on right around the time of the 21st,
the next
22nd.
one. I know. And you're right about that, by the way. I mean, for sure that if they just do 25 and it's basically a neutral statement, the markets are going to love that. So it's either they do a 50 basis point and then kind of say, okay, well, we'll wait and see, or they do a 25, but then say, hey guys, we're going to keep doing 25s, be prepared. Interest rates they're going to have to somehow say something where on one side or the other, it keeps the markets kind of uneasy. Otherwise, you're right. Otherwise, we're seeing Bitcoin at 30,000 and then we're seeing the stock market nearing all-time highs in a couple of months. Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that wouldn't be a good thing for individuals, but I don't think it's healthy for the markets.
No, definitely not healthy. I mean, again, we're just starting to bring down inflation. Finally, you're seeing these CPI numbers come in a little bit. The last thing the Fed wants is for that stuff to reverse and start roaring back. In fact, that's what happened in the 80s when they actually lowered interest rates too quickly, and then inflation roared back. And Jerome Powell has said very, very many times that he doesn't want to repeat the mistakes of the 80s.
Oh, I forgot to mention this earlier. In honor of this interview today, do you see what I have going on here? Do you see? Do you see my
Yeah, I love it. Look at that.
So we're like twins here, man.
Dude, twinning. I love it.
I think is it pronounced Chamajay?
I have no idea. I wish I was
the
cool
samurai
enough to
man
know.
bun. But yeah, I did. I was gonna try to put it up a little bit higher so it would be a little bit more prominent. But I did want to mention I had to restart my computer and it really screwed up everything right before the live stream. I was gonna share this joyous thing.
I love it, man. Very cool.
I wanted to be cool like you, my friend.
Nonsense. I just try to get through every day, right?
Well, again, the Federal Reserve thing I think is going to be interesting. 25 is basis points is 100%, but I'm still kind of like in this. I want to be the devil's advocate. I want to throw something else out there. Everybody keeps saying 25, and I feel like the Fed has they still need to bring shit back down to more a reality basis.
They do. No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, considering the amount of money that was printed since COVID started, right? And even before that, since 2009, if you look at the monetary supply, the M2 money supply, it has begun to drop, but it is a drop in the bucket considering what was printed over the last 10, 15 years. So, I mean, you're right about that, is that in the scheme of things, a lot more eventually has to be done. The question is, does the Federal Reserve have the guts to do it?
Well, does Jerome Powell want to be known as the money printer go burr guy either?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. And again, I want to remind people that roughly in 40 minutes from right meow, maybe 37 minutes, Mr. Gareth Soloway is going to be live on his very own YouTube channel. So you guys can check that out right after this live stream. And I did put a link in the live chat.
Thank you.
No problem, my friend. I love what you do, and I want to make sure that people can, hear as much of your wisdom and knowledge, your 20+ year trading experience. Another thing too I want to mention is I did have your partner on, Nick Santiago. Cool dude. I encourage people to check that out, especially to kind of get a different perspective from somebody who's not necessarily a crypto fan. But yes, definitely very knowledgeable and on par with Gareth. I was very impressed with that conversation, my friend.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. And I think what's great about it is you're presenting different points of view, and then you let the viewer decide. And I think more stations need to do what you do, and I applaud you for that, for sure.
Well, I think we can get them in crypto, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
But yeah, and I told him I would love to have maybe even him on and you on for like maybe a minor debate where we could kind of like talk about, because he does come from that libertarian mindset. It's just really weird that he's anti-crypto.
Yeah, it is. And it's such an interesting thing, right? Because he is from that mindset, but he hasn't quite done the crypto stretch yet. He hasn't jumped to that. So it'll be interesting to see in the coming years if we see regulation help crypto maybe become more mainstream. Is there a point where he does flip into that? So I think that would be awesome. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that your gains are making him a little peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I mean, the gains from crypto are completely insane compared to what you're seeing in the traditional markets.
That's true. You're 100% right. Yeah. I mean, crypto is just the buzz in crypto is just amazing. In fact, if you look at the bounce we've seen in crypto, and you can see it on my chart here, is that, if you zoom out on this, right, and you go back to the all-time highs, it's really not that big of a move considering where we've fallen. But what I've been amazed at is how the loudness of the bulls coming back. I mean, it is incredible how people just are so passionate about crypto and Bitcoin and what it means to citizens and everything like that. It's so cool. It also makes me a little nervous, frankly, because I tend to be in the camp where past bear markets in stocks, in commodities, they don't usually gain this much bullishness so fast. And that is something that I'm concerned about, because usually what happens is when a bear market bottoms out, the first big bounce afterwards, everyone's so scared that it's going to go back down. No one wants to jump on the train. It's not until later. And so I would just mention that. It doesn't mean it's not different this time, but until proven that it is different, I'm very skeptical.
I agree, and not to offend anybody, but it's uneducated investors. I mean, I still feel like we're in a traditional technical bear market, and in a bear market, you are going to see upward action. You're going to see some bull runs here and there throughout a bear market. It's just part of how markets work. They can't stay stagnant.
Yeah.
It's always 100%. Up and down, and ultimately up and to the right, but it's always up and down until it starts to figure out its support and resistance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So here we are at the Bitcoin chart. And I roughly, again, I want to make sure I'm being respectful of your time. So I'm going to say we got roughly 20 ish minutes. I'd like to cover Bitcoin, some crypto. I would like to touch XRP, and I'd like to get into your thoughts with gold and silver and anything else that you want to share beyond that.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So let's take a look at crypto. And the first thing I want to point out is we had this beautiful green candle that looked like it was beginning to break out. One thing I want to just mention to people watching is always be careful when you get a big bullish move or even bearish move on a weekend in crypto, because generally you don't have the big money trading. Like Sunday morning at 9 a.m., the big players are not putting $1 billion to work in Bitcoin. So notice how on the Sunday, this was a Sunday, we got the pop, and then it reversed on Monday when the dollar started trading again, the stock market started trading again. It kind of was the big players coming back to reality. And so always just be careful of that if you're out there. You know, look for moves that coincide with traditional markets as well. They're much more trustworthy. Now, the big thing on this chart is, are we consolidating in a bullish pattern for one final move up to, let's say, 25,000 resistance up here? Or was this reversal and now are we starting to form a small bearish pattern that's going to take us back down to this 21,300 level? So that's something that I'm trying to follow here. I think once we get the Fed decision later today, we probably get a better idea about which direction this is going to go. I would say this: if Bitcoin were to break this low here, so if we basically traded below 22,330, then I would say it's going to head down to 21.3. So this is kind of my line in the sand. It's the lowest point for two candles right here on the bullish consolidation point. So if that were to break, the floodgates of selling would probably open up just a little bit. On the other side of the coin, if we start taking out this previous Sunday high, then you've got to assume a move up to the 25,000 and change level.
No, I think it was December the last time we talked, and I didn't have a chance to talk to you in between. Was this upward action, this rally that we had in January, was it in the charts?
Yes, yes. And so that's a great point here. And so number one, there were a couple reasons why coming into January, I was bullish on crypto in general. The biggest one is what's called the January effect. And the January effect basically states that in December, people say, okay, I have a bunch of gains from early in 2022 when crypto was still high, and I have some losses now because crypto's done nothing but go down. And so I'm going to sell my losses in December, so my tax bill is much lower, right? So it's basically harvesting your losses to
Tax harvesting, yeah.
Right, tax planning. And so what that does is it basically means that come January, pretty much anyone who was going to sell is now done selling. And it means that there's less sellers and just equal amounts of buyers. Naturally, price is going to go up. So I see this in the stock market. It's called the January effect there as well, where a lot of beaten down names finally have this resurgence. And that's really what we saw. In addition, there was this cool trend line right here that I was following, where you could just draw it right down here. And you could see here, we broke out just here. And then once we broke out and stayed above that, all of a sudden the melt up started here. And we kind of topped out short term at the FTX high pivot, right? That was where the FTX news came out. And the one thing that also led me to like this crypto break into January was that we were getting other bad news. You heard about Gemini, and I think it was a couple other things going on, like, you know, these different bankruptcies, all these other things. Price wasn't going down. And anytime you see bad news hitting any asset and price isn't dropping, what that's telling you is big money or smart money is accumulating, right? So ultimately, once we had this breakout, then you got the shorts to cover. You kind of topped here, and then you got another leg up as the stock market was rallying as well. The question is, are we at the end of the run, or do we still have a little bit more to go?
Well, from a chart perspective, what do the charts tell you without, you know, like listening to what Jerome Powell is going to be spitting out of his mouth today? Because obviously that's going to have a lot to do with it. But you're like you were saying that the January rally was already in the charts. Some people were thinking it was a surprise, but from your experience, it was imminent.
Yeah.
So just
absolutely.
without the FOMC meeting, just looking at the charts, do you still see us going higher before we go lower?
I would say the probabilities favor the top is very close to be in. I would say max upside is 25,000 here. Again, you know, basically at this point, anytime you go into a Fed decision, let's be clear, it's kind of a gamble as a trader, right? You know, you don't know exactly what he's going to say. You don't know how the market is going to react. In general, if I had to choose a position here, I would be short Bitcoin, understanding that it could go up to 25, but the downside likely takes us back to the 18-ish level or even lower. So I think the risk reward favors the downside. But again, just be aware, you know, anytime you get earnings on a stock or news like this in the Fed, it's a wild card. There's always some risk involved there that it could pop quickly to the upside before reversing to the downside. Put it to you this way: if we get to 25,000, I'm shorting, basically on a Pierce of 25, I would short Bitcoin as a trade.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, as far as market lows and market highs, I'm not sure how you look at this terminology, but as far as price range, do you still feel that we have lower to go than the 15.5 bottom-ish that we've seen?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I still, based on the macro charts, and that's using the weekly and the monthly chart, to me, this still tells me there's some downside to go. If we flip over to the monthly here, it's been a tremendous bounce. But again, as of now, this is just a small drop in the bucket bounce. I would still be nervous that we're still going to have one final rollover. I still think the macro side is what concerns me most. Is number one, we don't have any regulation yet. So what the heck is that going to show? Like, what are these altcoins going to have to do to kind of figure out the SEC's new regulation when it does come? And then also you have to look at still how many cryptos are out there that have almost no utility. And at what point do they finally go down essentially to zero or just stop trading? And I still think it's a way too crowded jungle out there of cryptocurrency. So again, also factoring in that I've never seen a bottom in a market, in a bear market, where bulls came back in this strong, this quickly. Now, again, it is crypto, which is unique, but still, it doesn't remind me of 2017. In 2018, when we bottomed out, the first move up, no one was talking about it. No one said a word. Everyone was too scared. But when we finally took up, once we got over 20,000, everyone started jumping on the bandwagon. And we can go back here, right? So basically, you had this little push up here. Well, first of all, we even had this one, right? So let's go back here and look at 2017 real quick. Bear with me here as we scroll all the way back. Got to go back a ways. But all right, so here we go. Back to 2000 and so here. So when we bottomed out here, you had this nice initial bounce. And by the way, it went from 3,000 all the way back to 4,300, which percentage-wise is almost what we bounced right around here. And then we actually trailed off and went sideways and chopped around. Then we finally had another move. But you didn't see bulls coming on board till really we got north of 10,000. Like at that point, Bitcoin had tripled from the lows before bulls really came on board. And even then, look at this. We even came back and tested 3,000 again, back over here. So again, in 2018, 2019, with Bitcoin, we did not see that bullishness that we're seeing now when we came off the lows like this. And that's a concern to me.
Yeah, no, I get that. And that's where I feel like some of it could have been manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone like yourself, is able to whisper in somebody's ear that, the charts are saying there's going to be a rally, then you can manipulate that rally. And, because I mean, how many shorts got liquidated?
Oh, it's got to be a ton.
And here soon, how many longs are going to be liquidated?
Right. Think about how many people have jumped on board. I mean, I've seen so many posts on Twitter saying the bottom is in from major influencers, and it may be, but that does concern me, right? When you get the kind of the masses to buy into a narrative, that's usually where the bigger money says, oh, this is great. We can unload into it. We'll flush it one more time, wipe them out. And then finally the bottom's in.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's so many people I think just don't have a reality. It's like so many people, in addition to the market, are disconnected from reality. I'm looking at the bigger picture economically, and I still don't feel like we've felt the recession pain, potentially depression, and I don't feel like we felt the pain from all of this money printing. I don't feel like it's all done yet.
It definitely isn't. It isn't. And what tells you that too, by the way, is that people are so eager to get back in, right? So if you go back to like 2009, when we finally bottomed out, the small retail investor didn't get back in the stock market to a maximum until like 2020 when COVID hit. I mean, think about that amount of time. It was called in the stock market the most unloved rally from 2009 to 2019. So basically 10 years, and the retail investor was too scared because their 401ks got wiped out, their retirement. I mean, everything got wiped out in 2009 that they were too scared to come back in until we got to 2020. And so that you're not seeing that in crypto yet. So it is a concern for sure.
100%. Do you mind sharing the Ethereum chart and then maybe going into XRP, since we are kind of potentially coming into the close of the case? I like to see how the charts kind of match up with that.
So this is the Ethereum chart, and we can see this beautiful little trend line connecting these lows. That gives us a basis of if it breaks to the downside, you basically have downside all the way back to essentially this support down here at around 1325. So watch that line very carefully. It currently sits around 1545, 1540. On the upside, I think honestly, this upsloping trend line here, which marked the top of the recent rally, it's a little higher now. That's my max upside. I actually have a short sell out there on Ethereum right now with investors, with my crew at verifiedinvestingcrypto.com. So we are short this. We're in the money a little bit at this point, but to me, this chart is looking like it wants to roll.
Okay, that makes sense. I was also thinking about your bullish moves, your big ball moves with Solana. When Solana had went down, you know, I'm part of Verified Investing Crypto, so I get the alerts, and I didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And obviously, if I would have been smart, I could have made some pretty decent money off of some trades with Solana. I really didn't think it was going to even come back above like $10. It just didn't feel like, just felt like it was going to be dead. People were just going to like want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and I was in that, you know, part of me, that side of my brain was also thinking that, you know, for me, it was a risk reward analysis, right? Where I said, all right, listen, if I put 2-3% of my portfolio in it at, you know, 10, 12 bucks, what's the worst that's going to happen? Well, I'll lose 100% of that 3%, but it's only, my account would be down 3%. On the other side of the coin, if it doesn't go bankrupt, they have a great technology. They're allowed to, you know, they can process transactions so much faster than Ethereum. Maybe it does have a significant amount of upside. And that just happened to be the way it played out. But it was very much a kind of a calculated risk on that trade going along Solana. Now, I will say this, I have a short signal out there on it, which is in the money right now. And I do think, look at this breakpoint right here. That's bearish to see this trading below here. We could definitely be looking for a move down to about 20 bucks, maybe even down to about 17.75 on Solana.
Okay. Do you mind pulling up the XRP chart?
Yeah, XRP, definitely. I've been looking at this one a little bit too, because it's kind of an interesting chart. It's been trading right up against resistance here. So it hasn't broken yet. We can see this, right? So this is a wide wedge pattern, what we would refer to as a wedge pattern. And a wedge pattern basically means that price is getting in a tighter and tighter range. Like think about a spring. It's winding up, fast, harder and harder. And whenever it breaks one way or the other, it's going to blast. Now, the question is it going to break to the upside or the downside? And I honestly don't know yet. All I can follow is the line. And if we start trading up here, then that would be very, very bullish. I think it's interesting. It's trading in this wedge pattern, and we're getting closer to hopefully the judge's decision in that case, because that would make sense that it would be the catalyst for a big move one way or the other.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. And I think a lot of people are anticipating that, you know, this case is going to be coming to an end really soon. So I'm making sure I'm paying attention. I'm not a big fan of the banker coin, but I know people can make some profit off of it, especially if it comes out of the SEC case looking better than people are expecting.
And the only thing I would just mention on XRP, and I know there's so many people that love their XRP, but the only thing to kind of keep in mind is, and what I'm having trouble with in terms of the bigger picture for it, is considering that it would replace a lot of what the banking system does in terms of transferring money and this kind of stuff. My question is, when you have thousands and thousands of banks all interconnected through the SWIFT system and all this, are they going to allow some other technology to supplant that revenue stream? And I think they're going to fight tooth and nail to not allow XRP to succeed. And that's the only thing that makes me nervous. Is it's kind of like going up against Goliath, where you better have a freaking good sling in your thing to get it through. Otherwise, you're going to get smushed.
Well, Ripple does have a lot of partners.
Yep, it does.
And they are a World Economic Forum partner, and Brad Garlinghouse is on the board, I believe.
Yep. Which is really good to see. Like, that is good. That's what they're doing the right things. I agree.
So, I mean, as far as being in there, because I've said the same thing. Why would they use somebody else's technology when they could just fork or create their own?
Right.
Which would make sense. But at the same time, there may be, we may be going into a different shift. If you ever have a chance, you definitely need to dig into the ISO 20022 stuff, because I look at that as kind of being the connector for all these different parallel systems, different CBDCs with different technologies, interconnecting them all.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely got to do more research. And that's always the one thing with me, right? Is that, there's so many people that understand Web3 and all these little interconnections. And I'm coming from a stock background, commodity traded background, where I'm a technician. I look at charts, which gives me an edge in some respects. But then when it comes to like the intricate knowledge of things, like that's above and beyond my level of expertise. So I definitely appreciate people like you that have that knowledge and convey that knowledge.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And speaking of commodities and being respectful of your time and trying to wrap this thing up in less than 8 minutes, do you mind looking at the gold and silver charts? Because I'm as much as I love cryptocurrency, I'm a big, huge proponent of gold and silver.
Yeah, you and me both, man. You and me both. We have that love for that wonderful metal. As again, it's a little bit better than fiat currencies as well.
Little bit.
Yeah, all right, way much better. Yes, very, very true. But so number one, gold's had an awesome rally. Like this bottom here, I love this on the charts for people that are watching. Look at this. Look at how it tried to break this trend line, bounced. It tried again, it still couldn't, and it tried one more time and it couldn't. And what I always say to people is, think about it logically. If you're a military group, right, and you're fighting a battle against an opposing side, and you push them back. And then they push you back and you push them back again and they fight back again and they do it again and they push you. At some point, you're going to be like, listen, we have to give up. Let's go with the path of least resistance. Let's retreat because they keep on pushing us back. We can't break through their line. That's what this was on the chart. So eventually the path of least resistance is, I can't break down. Price can go back to the upside. And that's exactly what we saw here. We've seen price rally up. Now, I do think short-term gold may want to pull back just a little bit here. But ultimately, I am a huge gold fan. I still think gold is going to break out with a vengeance. And eventually, I think this year is the year we take out the all-time highs on gold here, this little double top.
Yeah, because we're sitting above $1,900, which is a good sign.
Yep.
Silver hasn't seemed to move as much as gold, which is interesting as well. But there's a lot of accumulation of gold going on with central banks and nations. It makes me also wonder kind of what's going on with that as well.
Yeah, and you're right about that. Central banks are buying gold hand over fist, which we all have to, we want to kind of rip them and say they're idiots. But at the same time, they do kind of understand, like, even if they're printing money, they understand that's going to end badly. Well, how do you protect against that? Buy gold, have gold on your balance sheet, right? So if they're doing it in general, it's something we should be doing. It's kind of like following the big money. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And I think that's an important thing to look at. Looking at the silver chart here, it's basically been consolidating. This is bullish consolidation. So even if we were to pull back to this 22 level, I think you got to be a buyer here. This is setting up as a beautiful, you could even argue this is a beautiful cup and handle formation forming, which the next move to me takes us to $26 to $27. And I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if we test 30 this year by later this year.
Well, you mentioned a possible breakout for gold hitting all-time highs this year. You don't see the same thing for silver?
I think I do. This is the only caveat with silver, right? Is
that would be doubling its price.
Right. So the only tricky thing with silver is that it's also an industrial metal. And we're starting to see slowdowns in the economy. And if I'm right, we're going to go into a global recession. We could already be there. That's a big thing up for debate. But the question is then, is the demand for silver offset from the industrial side with the store of safety side? So I'm more confident on my gold call that it will hit new highs this year. Silver, I think, at least tests the highs at 30. I just don't know if it'll break out this year. Eventually it will. It's just a matter of, is it during this recessionary period?
Okay. The last question I want to ask you in regards to gold is, do you have a time frame of when you're thinking that we could be seeing all-time highs? Like what quarter of 23?
Yeah, so based on how close we are already and how we're starting to make bullish consolidation, I would say by the second quarter of 2023. So basically, after March through June-ish or so, I think that's the quarter you're going to hit at least the highs. Whether or not we break out at that point or pull back a little, we'll have to see. But I would say you test that 2070 level on gold, but in the second quarter of 2023.
Good to know. Very good to know, man. I appreciate that. Was there anything else that you felt that was important to share?
Yeah, just coming into the Fed decision, keep an eye on the dollar. The dollar, again, is hovering just above support here. So if the dollar does bounce, that could be a negative for risk assets. but it is something, again, notice this pivot low right here. And then I like to show this chart on the weekly. If I zoom back to 2016 through this high, through this low, you're really close to support. So to me, that makes me a little uneasy going into the Fed decision or the earnings after the bell on Thursday, or even the jobs number on Friday, knowing that if the dollar bounces, usually that's not a good thing for risk assets. And that also could be the culprit for why gold and silver pull back just a little bit before their next bull run. So watch the dollar on the Fed decision. It is going to get crazy.
That makes sense, man. That makes sense. All right, my friend. Well, we are at 1:36 p.m. Eastern time. You're going to be going live in 14 minutes. I wanted to make sure I was being respectful of your time. I'm going to have links down below for the playlist with all your previous appearances, including Nick Santiago's appearance. That's in the Gareth Soloway playlist, so you guys can check that out. I'll have links for Gareth's Twitter account. Make sure you're checking out his YouTube channel, which, again, he will be going live in 13 minutes. Over on Gareth Soloway YouTube channel for the Verified Investing Trade the Federal Reserve Decision. I'll have links for Verified Investing Crypto and In the Money Stocks, all verified trades, proof of trades, all that good stuff. Before we wrap up, man, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, just thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for mentioning the live stream coming up. It's always a pleasure. I think we have great conversations, and I think the audience would agree.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you again for your time today. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the live stream on my own if you want to wrap things up. And I'll make sure that I'm done before you begin so I can lead people from here to there. I got a few things I want to share before we wrap up.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks again, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in for today's live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it was short. It was kind of short notice. When we scheduled this, we were originally going to do it for 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Gareth's people reached out to me and made me aware of his live stream and asked if we could do it a little bit earlier. And that unfortunately kind of limited how much time I had with him. So I'm pretty sure he will be going into more detail about some of the things that we talked about on today's live stream on his YouTube channel. So again, make sure you are subscribed. I will remind people, I haven't checked since the live stream has started, but I want to remind people that I did do an interview with Crypto Face. He's the creator of Market Cipher, pretty much the best indicator service tools that you can get on the market. When I interviewed him, he offered the first 50 people that signed up for Market Cipher to get a 50% discount, 50% off Market Cipher. There are 10 or less spots available. I want to let everybody know, still have a chance to get 50% off Market Cipher. You can get lifetime Market Cipher 50% off today. You got to use this specific link and the specific promo code. Now, well, here's what I want to do. I want to copy and paste it, and then I'll throw it back on the screen so that everybody can take advantage, because no one ever sees a discount for Market Cipher like this. And I'm going to put it in the live chat. So if you want to get your 50% off, and what I will do real quick, let me see if I can gauge where we're at with this. It looks like there might be 7 more spots left. It might be less, but it looks like there might be 7 more spots left. So get 50% off Market Cipher today, 50% discount with promo code RICE using that specific link, marketciphertrading.com/RiceTVX. And again, it is in the live chat, like 6 or 7 spots left to get your 50% off on Market Cipher. All right. Now, the last thing that I wanted to share with everybody is I wanted to remind people that may or may not be aware, I am doing a fundraiser. I am having a private website being built that's going to be utilizing private servers, private hosting. And I will be replacing my Patreon with that website as soon as it is done being complete. I will be phasing out my Patreon. If you would like to get lifetime access, I'm trying to raise $5,000. Right now, there's 20 spots of 50 left. For $100, you get lifetime access. Plus, I am giving a swag bag gift that includes Rice Against the Grain and Rice TVX swag. I've got some patches on the way. I've got stickers. I've got a few other items that I will be sharing. As soon as I have a few more of the items, I'll start sharing what I will be including in that swag bag gift. It's going to be very limited edition run on all the items. No more than 150 are being printed. Most of them, there's only going to be 100. 50 individuals, lifetime access. You get that swag bag, and you send me an email at ricemediagroup@protonmail.com. Put lifetime in the subject line. I have my PayPal, my Cash App information scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Yeah, it's scrolling on the bottom of the screen. And you can send the money via those ways, or if not, and you have another way that you want to send, email me and I will let you know. Once you send the funds, email me and confirm, and I will get you added to the list. Until the site is built, I will send you an email with links directly to all the interviews, all the early access and exclusive content that I'm doing. Right now, I have unreleased interviews with Dr. Narco Longo from Old World, Florida. That's going to be posted on Rice Against the Grain today, but it is available and has been available for a few days over on my Patreon and for lifetime members. I interviewed Pete Stone with the Sovereign Project, another Rice Against the Grain video that is available as well. And tomorrow I'm going to be interviewing Jason Brashears for the second time from Archaics. I will release that publicly next week, but patrons and lifetime members will get early access, unedited, no ads. So consider supporting the channel. Lifetime access. There's 20 spots out of 50 left. Email ricemediagroup@protonmail.com and put lifetime in the subject line. The other thing I want to remind people of is my partnership with ITM Trading. So we were just talking about gold and silver. I'm going to play a quick infomercial that I recorded about my partnership with ITM Trading. On the screen, you will see an 866-516-5028 number that is customized for Rice TVX subscribers and viewers. You can schedule a free strategy call with the ITM Trading team. You can use this specific Calendly link and a specific landing page link, which I will go ahead and copy and paste. But it is learn.itmtrading.com/RiceTVX. That is my landing page so that you can support the channel. These are ways that you can look out for yourself and support Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain at the same damn time. What do you think about that? I'll tell you what I think about that. If I can find this thing. Where is it? Here it is. Here we go. I also wanted to share that I have recently partnered up with ITM Trading. So if you want to schedule a gold and silver strategy call to build your wealth shield and support Rice TVX, be sure to use my specific landing page that you see on the screen, and I will also include custom Calendly links and an 800 number that you can utilize to schedule your strategy call with the ITM Trading professionals. And again, it is a way to support Rice TVX. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and the last thing that I wanted to share, because I've been talking about being a proponent of precious metals, gold and silver. I also have a partnership with Money Metals Exchange. Now, one thing I will let people know with my partnership with ITM Trading is it is a minimum of $5,000 that they work with. They don't sell individual bullion silver. They deal with a lot of pre-1933 gold, but not only pre-1933 gold. So Money Metals Exchange and ITM Trading, as far as what they offer, are very complementary to each other for all the viewers and subscribers of Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain. So it's a minimum of $5,000 for the to do the investment with ITM Trading, but the call is absolutely free. But if you don't have anything, if you have anything less than $5,000, they're not going to be able to help you, unfortunately. But if you want to buy smaller amounts and accumulate smaller amounts of silver, gold, different precious metals, you can take advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. The way it works is you have to be a first-time buyer. So you go to moneymetals.com, you purchase a minimum of $100 worth of goods. So 5 ounces of silver, whatever the case might be. And you put the promo code RICETVX at checkout, you get a free ½ ounce of silver. And it supports Rice TVX. So either the ITM Trading and or Money Metals Exchange, you get to look out for yourself, invest in gold and silver, protect and preserve what you have. And I'm a big proponent. I've talked about this in previous videos. Gareth will definitely 100% agree with me. Speaking of Gareth, I got to get ready to wrap up because he's going to be going live in 4 minutes. So once again, free ½ ounce of silver. moneymetals.com, first time buyer, minimum purchase of $100. Use promo code RICETVX at checkout. You get a free half ounce of silver and it supports Rice TVX. So I greatly appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you're catching up on all the content that I have been releasing. YouTube has not been very generous with letting people know about my videos as they come out. So I would definitely encourage you to make sure that you haven't missed any videos. I will remind people that I have had Crypto Face on. I have had Crypto Crow on. Definitely check those out. This is the interview with Nick Santiago, partners with Gareth Soloway. I did a really good video talking about the history of Litecoin. I definitely encourage you to check that out. And also, I did a video yesterday, a warning about stable coins, the digital dollar, and CBDCs. Over on Rice Against the Grain, I have an interview available with Jacob Israel. If you have not seen it, and I've been reposting a lot of the older Stranger Than Fiction videos over on Rice Against the Grain, my new channel. So if you're a fan of the Stranger Than Fiction content, make sure you head over there and subscribe. My interview with Old World Florida, the host, Dr. Narco Longo, will be available probably in the next hour or so on Rice Against the Grain. I will be having a couple new videos coming out on Rice Against the Grain this week and next week, and I'm going to be also reposting more older Stranger Than Fiction content. And the last thing that I will mention is make sure that you do head over to my website, which is ricetvx.com. This little pop-up will come up here like that, and you sign your email address there so you can be a part of my mailing list, so you can stay up to date on all things rice. Rice, baby. Once you have signed up for my email list, you will find links to all of my channels, my social media, and all that good stuff over on Rice TVX. So thank you again for tuning in. If you haven't smashed that like button, I would greatly appreciate it if you take time to smash that like button. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you are subscribed. Head over to Gareth Soloway's channel because he is going to be going live in 2 minutes. So if you'd like to continue listening to what Gareth has to say, check that out. And before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this, as I like to always leave people, a little positivity. I encourage you to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch you want to see in the matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And until next time, practice change.